Step 1 of picking up stitches for the gusset is to knit across the heel turn. When you reach the first edge of the heel flap, pick up one stitch by inserting the right needle through both legs of the slip stitch and knit. Then place a gusset stitch marker. Continue picking up all the stitches along the heel flap as instructed by the pattern. When you reach the end of the heel flap, you're at what most patterns refer to as the join. It's where you rejoin the heel flap stitches with the instep stitches to knit in the round again. You'll pick up a stitch here to avoid creating a small gap. This stitch is picked up using the stitch below the last stitch in the heel flap. Don't pick up the bar between the heel flap and the instep stitches because this will actually create a hole. Once you've picked up that last stitch, place your beginning of round marker and knit to the end of the instep stitches where you'll place another marker. The join stitch on this side is the stitch below the lever back stitch marker you placed when you started the heel flap. Pick up your first stitch, then remove the lever back stitch marker and pick up the number of stitches instructed. Place your gusset stitch marker. Notice it looks like there are 2 stitches left? Use the next slip stitch and pick up 1 stitch. The following stitch, the faux slip stitch as I call it, has a stitch coming out of it sitting on the left needle. Don't pick up another stitch here. Instead, continue knitting the stitches we previously referred to as the heel flap stitches, which are now the gusset stitches, and back to the beginning of round marker. All stitches are picked up and stitch markers placed. The gusset and sole stitches are now in 3 sections. Half the sole stitches on the right, gusset stitches in the middle, half the sole stitches on the left. The diamond gusset is worked in the center of the sole, and all the stitches between the gusset stitch markers are decreased as we work the pattern. To start the diamond gusset, knit across the instep stitches and across the first half of the sole stitches until you reach the gusset stitch marker. Slip the gusset stitch marker, SSK, then knit across the gusset stitches until 2 stitches before the second gusset stitch marker. Knit 2 together. Slip the gusset stitch marker and knit to the beginning of the round. For the second round, knit across the instep stitches and the first half of the sole stitches until the gusset stitch marker. Slip the gusset stitch marker, knit 1 stitch through the back loop, and then knit across the gusset stitches and the rest of the sole stitches until you reach the beginning of round marker. Repeat these 2 rounds until you have 2 stitches left between the gusset stitch markers. With 2 stitches remaining between the gusset stitch markers, you'll work a center double decrease. Knit across the instep stitches to 1 stitch before the first gusset stitch marker. Slip the stitch to your right needle, remove the gusset stitch marker, and move the stitch back to the left needle. Slip 2 stitches together knitwise, knit 1 stitch, pass the 2 stitches over the knit stitch and off the needle, removing the second gusset stitch marker as you work. Knit to the beginning of the round marker. This was the last round of your diamond gusset, ending in a point because of the center double decrease. Because the gusset is worked along the center of the sole in a V, the fabric is gathered into a perfect arch.